Healers are pretty strong in the base game of Xenoblade 3, and in Future Redeemed, that trend mostly continues. Glimmer in particular is a very effective healer and party support who offers a number of useful buffs to teammates, along with very effective healing and revival speed, making sure that even if Rex is getting aggro and dying all the time, you can pick him up again almost instantly and buff him so he can start doing his job again. I find Glimmer to be a pretty fun healer to play as well, with a lot of useful utility options that can contribute to the success of the team, as well as some nice unity skills. In this video, I want to discuss Glimmer, talk about her strengths and weaknesses, and discuss how I believe to use her most effectively. If you enjoyed my guide content for Future Redeemed and want to see more on this and the rest of the Xenoblade series, please be sure to subscribe to the channel because it really helps me out so much. Let's get into it. So once again, I do recommend maxing out your weapon as soon as you can. I would focus the attackers and defenders first, since attack stat doesn't matter quite as much for your healers. It's more important to focus on the healing stat for that. Critical rate actually does have some effect for healer because you can get some heals. You can get some critical hits on your heals, meaning you'll heal even more. But other than that, I would still recommend maxing this out when you can, but it's not as big of a priority as maxing out your other characters, since even with 815 attack, Glimmer is still not going to be doing a massive amount of damage, especially compared to your other heavy hitters. So I want to take a look at Glimmer's skills now. Let's talk about the things she can offer to the team. The first skill she has is Soothing Fire. This will restore nearby allies' health on art execution. Amount healed is equal to 50% of users' healing. So essentially, every time Glimmer uses any art, she will heal roughly 400, half of her healing number, to everyone around her. This is actually not that insignificant. 400 is not too bad of a total, considering health caps out for a lot of characters. On Glimmer itself, it caps out at 4,000, so that's 10% of your health every time you're using an art. And it's area of effect, so it'll also heal about 400 to all of your party members, and some of the attackers that have lower health can really just appreciate the passive healing over time, especially in fights that they might be taking aggro a little bit easier, but they're not always in danger of just dying in one hit or anything like that. Glimmer's second skill is Healing Genius. This will boost the amount of health healed by using healing art by 30%. So when you specifically use an art that heals, this will increase the amount of healing that the art does by an additional 30%, meaning that all of the healing is going to be increased, meaning that you'll have an easier time getting all of your allies to full health. This is a solid skill for a healer. There isn't really too much else to say outside of that, so let's just go ahead and take a look at the next skill. Will to Aid. This boosts healing art recharge speed by 40% when an ally is at low health. So essentially, when an ally is at low health or even dead, you will recharge your arts faster, meaning you can heal even more often. Glimmer ends up being a healer that can use her healing arts pretty much more than almost any other healer across both the base game and in this game, simply because she has a bunch of tools in order to heal even more often and just effectively use her arts as much as she possibly can. This also means she'll charge up her talent art more and be able to use that more often as well. Rapid Response is her fourth major skill. This will boost speed of ally revival by 40% and raises healing by 15%. So essentially, this will allow you to revive all of your allies even faster, especially when you combine it with the fast revive gem. You can revive allies in a matter of a couple seconds, which is pretty crazy efficient for a healer, and one of the fastest revives in the game. And when you combine it with the gem that also allows you to revive characters with more health, and with like a devotional necklace that gives you your arts back instantly, you can be very effective for the team and keeping pretty much everyone healthy all the time, no matter what. It's a very effective kit for a healer just to be able to keep everyone topped off on health at basically all the time. I'm a really big fan of how it all comes together to be a very supportive healer. She also provides some really nice buffs to the team, so really big fan of how she controls and plays in this game. The other passive skills that Glimmer has that aren't part of her main 4 skills are Field Duration Up. This will increase field effect duration by 30%, meaning that your major field effect, which is a attack buff field, will be active for longer and more often. This is really nice because just being able to increase the attack power of the party is pretty cool. Slower Healing Aggro. This will reduce aggro generated from healing arts by 30%. Glimmer's not usually going to be taking aggro that frequently anyway. Usually all of your characters are going to have to die first in order for Glimmer to take aggro. So this is not really something to worry about super often, but this does help out at the very least to prevent you from getting aggro if characters are dying frequently. Ouroboros Power Awaken. This boosts damage dealt by unity combos by 50%. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this works. I don't know if this is just Glimmer's damage. I don't know if this is damage of the entire team, or if it's just the damage of the final part of it, where it's just the burst damage itself, or the smash damage itself, or anything like that. I do not know for sure, but it's still something that affects the effectiveness of the combo and the damage of the combo, so you can't really go wrong with just a free skill like this. Longer debuff timers. This will extend duration of debuffs applied to enemies by 30%. Now, I really wish you had an easier time applying debuffs rather than just extending the duration of debuffs, since most of the super bosses and later story bosses are not going to have an easy time having debuffs applied to them, but for most regular enemies, this can be pretty useful if you do want to apply debuffs to them. Longer buff timers. This will extend duration of buff effects issued by Self by 30%. Now, this is very useful. Just a really nice passive skill to have because she has some very nice buff effects that she can give to the team, especially critical hit rate up and critical damage up. We'll talk a bit more about that later when we get to arts. And then just general attack up 10% and healing up 10%. The attack up doesn't do much, but healing up 10% is just going to increase the effectiveness of all of your healing. Once again, if you are leveling up Glimmer, if you're earlier in the game, I would recommend focusing on her skills more than anything else. And then if you are leveling up specific arts, I would focus on her healing arts and her attack up field. The field effect will allow you to use your talent art more often, which is another healing effect. So those are the things that I would probably prioritize. But make sure you're at least getting 1 point into all of your healing skills, since they do have some tangible impact. And once you get to the third tree, try to get these skills as well. Taking a closer look at her arts, we have Illusory Bloom. This is an ether attack that has a very low power multiplier, and it's supposed to inflict the debuff of physical defense down, which can be really nice since your major damage in the party is physical damage with Rex and Matthew. The problem is, as always, debuffs are just really hard to apply to the most powerful enemies in these games, so it's not going to be the most reliable effect, unfortunately. But it is something very nice if you can manage to apply it. It has a pretty low recharge gauge as well. This also applies a Blaze effect, but Blaze isn't actually really meaningful damage in this case because Glimmer doesn't have that much attack to begin with. Next, we have Great Garland. This is an ether attack with 310% power multiplier, and this will heal allies when art hits to a maximum of 100% of healing power. Now, that's 828 as your healing power, but considering all healing arts are boosted by 30%, this will do a bit over 1,000 health per healing. Not too bad for just a general healing art that's just based on the damage dealt. You can even increase this further depending on your accessory setup. Just this pretty standard healing art, has a pretty low cooldown, pretty easy to apply, a pretty good art overall. And then we have Flare Aria. This is a large field of effect range that has a low recharge gauge and grants attack up. This is very, very easy to set multiple fields up. This also charges up your talent gauge so you can use your talent art more often. And you can also very easily get attack buffs to the entire party if you set more than 3 fields at a time. So that allows you to just kind of boost the damage of your party even further, even if they aren't standing in your attack up fields. The talent art that she has is Elysian Anthem. This will heal all allies when art hits to a maximum 150% healing power. So once again, this will be about 1,200 normally, and when boosted will be, closer to 1,800 or so. A pretty good talent art, very, very easy to get a lot of healing out of this attack. It's a pretty easy to recharge attack overall as well. Not the most damaging, but a useful talent art nonetheless. Now, the main use for her is going to be her D-pad arts that are combined into fusion arts more than just the general use of her Agnes-based arts. Meteor Flame is a 440% power multiplier attack with a recharge gauge of 22 seconds. It has a chance of inflicting the Ether Defense Down debuff. This isn't the most impactful because most of your damage is physical, so Ether Defense Down is not going to really be doing all that much for you. But it's still a little nice because I think a lot of Shulk and Glimmer and A do some ether damage. But Rex and Matthew are mostly physical damage, and they're the main heavy hitters of the party. Burning Ballad grants critical rate up. This is a really good skill. Probably the best art you have overall, just because it really helps out Matthew and Rex, who are your main heavy attackers, who already have massive critical hit rates. So this is able to boost that even further, allowing them to get even more critical hits. And combined with some other skills, this is really powerful. Daybreak Hymn is your standard healing art. This is a 225% power multiplier. It's pure healing, area effect around user, recharge gauge of 14 seconds, meaning you can use it pretty often, especially when combined with the faster cooldown if the enemy is at lower health. Very nice healing art. This actually heals well over 2,000 most of the time, so I think this is a pretty powerful art just in general. Very, very easy to keep the team topped off with this art. Now, if we were to talk about her fusion arts, the one recommendation I absolutely recommend having at all times is Burning Garland. This is an area of effect, crit rate, and damage up. This will apply both the critical rate up and critical damage up buffs. Very powerful for both Rex and Matthew, as I said before. It's also area of effect heal. Really, really useful skill. I use this skill all the time. I absolutely recommend this over anything else. Flare Him is pretty good as a heal all and field attack up effect. And Meteor Bloom has a chance of applying evasion down as well as a debuff. Not necessarily guaranteed by any means, but it is something extra at the very least. If you would rather try using Meteor Flame and Daybreak Hymn instead, Bloom Him can grant accuracy up to the entire party, which can be useful for some more evasive foes, especially the level 70 super boss, which has a lot. And Meteor Aria has a chance of having Ether defense down, area of effect, and a field and attack up like the previous skill. All in all, you can't really go wrong with either of these two different effects. Like I said, the one fusion skill I absolutely recommend is just burning Garland at all times. The critical rate and damage up is just so incredibly useful to increase the damage of Rex and Matthew further and act as a very functional party support. But Glimmer has a lot of useful other buffs and debuffs you can apply as well, which can be pretty useful if they actually manage to work. The buffs will always work, of course, so definitely try to focus on that. The gems I am using are Swelling Blessing and Refined Blessing. This will extend duration of buff effects issued by self by 35%. This just allows you to keep your buffs even longer. Swelling Blessing is very good. This boosts the power buff effects issued by 35%. This means all of the critical rate up is 35% more powerful. The critical damage up means critical damage hits are 35% more powerful as well, or at least in relation to the strength of the buff itself, I should say. So, really, really useful effect to have Swelling Blessing, and Refined Blessing just means those buffs are going to last even longer after you set them. The last one I have is Soothing Breath 4. Now, you can go even faster on the revival speed, but since she already has a revival speed skill, I'm not that worried about it. I would rather revive allies with more health, just because being able to revive them with more health is really useful since this is an additive health increase effect. It'll allow them to start about half health when you revive them, and then you can instantly heal them back up to full if you have a Devotional Necklace accessory. So I just really like this skill overall. Definitely recommend running these 3 gems pretty much at all times on her. It's really synergistic and works very well. Speaking of accessories, as I mentioned, Devotional Necklace, absolutely recommend running this at all times on both of your healers. Recovers 100% of recharge for own arts upon reviving an ally. This means you get all of your arts back instantly. Means you can use your fusion arts instantly to basically heal your allies and apply the buffs back to them instantly as well. Critical damage and critical rate up. Very, very useful ability to have. Soulless Rings is just a general boost healing by 40% ability. Now, if you do not have these Soulless Rings, obviously since they only drop from the final super boss, you can just run a weaker version of this effect and still have plenty of success and still probably be able to heal without too much issue. The final accessory I'm running is Crystal Earrings. This fills chain attack gauge slightly on art execution. The major reason I am running this is because I want to be able to use chain attacks as often as I can, simply because chain attacks are the main way to deal a lot of damage in this game. So you want to be a very effective party support since you can use arts very often, especially if you're reviving allies constantly. You can use even more arts very quickly and charge up that chain attack gauge even faster. And as long as you're able to get breaks and launch, you should be good to go. The specific completion bonus tactics manual I'm running is reduce physical defense by 75 percentage points during a chain attack. This also comes with the benefit of not having heroic chains, so she always maxes out at 99 TP, similar to the healer effects in base game. So I really like this a lot, especially because enemies are basically always going to be weak to physical defense attacks because Rex and Matthew are physical damage dealers. And remember, even though Rex pierces defense, enemy defense can go below 0 if you have completion bonuses like this in chain attacks. So that means that if you go into negative physical defense, that means Rex and Matthew are both going to be hitting even harder. So I really like this completion bonus because of that. It works really well if you also have Glimmer paired with Rex. I think that's one of the best pairings in the game, as I mentioned before, and we'll talk a bit more about that now since we're going to move on to Unity Skills. So, Unity Skills. For the purpose of this video, I am going to be running Glimmer with Rex once again because I think it just illustrates how synergistic and good this combo is. I think this is one of the best 2 Unity skills in the entire game. Probably the best outside of chain attacks and like the second best or so with chain attacks included, although Rex has a really good combination with Matthew as well, which is probably going to be the best inside of chain attacks just because they're both the 2 attackers and can do the most damage as a finishing combo. But outside of chain attacks, boosts all allies' critical rate by 20%, and critical hit damage by 50 percentage points is just such an incredibly useful skill, as I've mentioned many times before. Now, as far as Glimmer's other Unity skills, the Unity skill with Matthew isn't too bad. This is a really nice effect as well, just for a nice 30% damage increase for the entire party. And the fact that you can reduce enemy block rate. Some enemies have really obnoxious block rates, but I don't think this is going to be the most important thing unless you really just want Matthew to do more damage and really need A to land attacks more often, because Rex can already pierce all block rate. He's got the unblockable skill, so you don't have to worry about that with him. And he's going to be one of your main primary damage dealers. I swear I'm not trying to turn all these guides into, hey, Rex is really strong, but that's just kind of how it works sometimes, especially when you get to the chain attack phase, because he's just one of your main damage dealers, and Glimmer's just a really good support for him. The Unity skill with A is pretty bad. Makes duration of timer of debuffs on enemies tick down 50% slower. Once again, this would be okay if you could actually reliably inflict debuffs, but that's very hard to do in this game, just as it is in the base game. The Unity skill with Nicole boosts damage dealt based on the amount of battle time elapsed. I believe this caps out at 60% after 2 minutes, which isn't amazing, but it's something that works at the very least. And then the Unity skill with Shulk is boost the buff duration for all allies by 50%. Now, buff duration is already really high, and you can already kind of apply them before they run out, so this isn't really the most necessary Unity skill either. So definitely the best Unity skill she has is Rex, followed by Matthew, and then the rest are kind of mediocre at best. But the one with Rex is just absolutely awesome, and probably one of the best Unity skills in the game. So it's definitely one I recommend doing if you can. And the Unity combo finisher is really nice as well, and I think it does get boosted by that 50% that Glimmer has on her skill tree as well. I think that's going to cover it for all of the explanation, so let's take a look at how to use Glimmer practically. So I want to tackle this fight on hard mode this time around and just kind of showcase a full, like, how you can kind of keep your party healthy regardless, no matter what you are fighting. So this is supposedly the hardest fight in the game, and I guess Rex does instantly die, but with the revival, you instantly get all 3 of your arts back thanks to the devotional necklace effect, and you can instantly apply the healing art to him to get him back to full health, and both of the buffs back on him as well, just from the Great Garland Burning Ballad fusion there. We've also already almost got our talent art up as well. So you can just kind of see how this ends up working. Rex once again dies because he's just too good at getting aggro. He gets revived in like a second, and once again I'm able to heal him, apply the buffs to him one more time, and we're basically good to go. Glimmer also almost dies there from being in the AoE. Unfortunately, Glimmer is a little bit squishy herself. That's one of her main weaknesses, I would say. But I'm able to recover from that. I also get my own healing art back up pretty quickly, and I'm able to survive without too much issue. I dash out of the area of effects. At this point, I'm almost hoping someone will die, so I'll be able to revive them and heal myself easier. I go ahead and use the fusion art there. We revive Rex now. And once again, I survived just barely. I dash forward so I can heal Rex and myself at the same time. And Glimmer's already almost back to full health. I'm going to use Flare Aria here again in a second so I get my talent art up, and I'm going to use that. If you are worried about dying from an area effect, you could save your talent art in order to use that right before he uses an attack that could end up killing you. Fortunately, I've been a little lucky with the damage ranges here. I haven't actually died yet, even though I've gotten close a couple of times. One remedy to this could be putting a more defensive item on Glimmer instead of the chain attack accessory, simply because in a fight like this especially, even if you do get your chain attack up, you're still going to be waiting for a break before you really want to chain attack anyway, so it ends up not mattering quite as much. And once again, same kind of strategy here. I revive Rex, I use my healing art on him to use my buff arts on him so he can just go back to doing what he does best, which is stealing aggro from the tanks pretty much instantly. Now, if you do get targeted by too many fireballs, A can revive you pretty quickly as well, and you should be fine from there. And if A dies, make sure you are reviving A instantly. That's probably the most important thing you need to worry about. Keeping both healers alive is pretty vital in any kind of super boss fight, especially on hard mode. And you can kind of see the benefits to the gem that revives allies with more health as well. Even if you didn't have that, just with the instant healing arts from the devotional necklace, you would probably be okay most of the time, but right now, the main priority with Glimmer is I want to try to stay close to my teammates because of the buff arts and the healing arts, but the area of effect damage can be pretty brutal, so it may not be a bad idea to just kind of dash in and out depending on when you are healing and when you are waiting for your arts to come back up. Matthew is dashing away from me right now, and I wanted to heal him, so I try to get close to him so I can do that. I go ahead and use all my arts, and then I dash over to revive Rex. I'm standing in area of effect, so I want to like dash out pretty soon here after I use all of my arts. So I'm still just waiting for a break at this point, because obviously when I really want the break, I'm never going to get it. And then the chain attack is probably going to proceed about how you expect. I did change up some of my other orders this time around to be more effective on hard mode, and I'll be able to show that off as well. It's going to rely a lot on Glimmer's Great Garland and Burning Ballad usage to kind of boost Rex's damage overall, though, as you might expect. So I've got a bunch of attack up fields now. Like I said, if you have more than like 3 fields out at a time, you can apply the attack up buff to the entire party. I do finally get the launch, though, and I'm able to go into the chain attack. Now, my strategy here, I am going to use Glimmer's completion bonus first when she appears, just to lower physical defense by a pretty massive amount, so we do even more damage. I'll be starting with Rex here. So I changed the order that I have on Rex to increase the damage ratio even more when he is used in the sequence. This comes with the unfortunate drawback of him not gaining as much TP, so I had to kind of change around some of the other chain attack orders I was using, where both A and Nickel now have a thing where if they finish a combination, you can get a guaranteed amazing in exchange for them not coming back regardless. So that means I'm pretty much guaranteed to get Rex back no matter what, even if I'm not able to get as much TP on him. It ends up helping out a lot because I can just get a really high damage ratio without too many issues. So you can see Rex here is at 58. I'm once again going to use Glimmer. Every time I use this combination here, I apply critical hit rate up and critical hit damage up. So Rex's crits are basically guaranteed, and he's going to hit even harder. So that's really useful, especially combined with the Unity skill that already does that from Glimmer. And this is going to increase my critical hit damage to pretty massive amounts as well. Just this order completion with Matthew here increases critical hit damage bonus by another 150 percentage points. So Rex's critical hits are going to be hitting like crazy now. Shulk here is going to boost the damage here even further. And it gives us a free round thanks to him charging the chain attack gauge. We're basically able to get a free round out of this, which is very nice because it gives more damage, it also gives more ratio, and I get a quick amazing there to increase everything even further. Since this is hard mode, the ratio is not increasing at nearly the same rate as it would be otherwise, but fortunately it doesn't end up mattering all that much because we're still able to get just enough damage, and even though Abassi has more health on hard mode, I think I'm able to just almost kill him to where just a couple extra attacks after the chain attack end up doing the job. So I used Matthew there to try to get a bit more TP. I didn't even need to, though. I could have just used Glimmer here anyway and still capped out at 99. I just wanted Rex to hit amazing here, but unfortunately I don't get quite enough here with my TP. I end up getting 197, so I'm only able to get another Bravo, unfortunately. So I lose a bit of damage ratio from that, but not a huge deal overall. If I did get that amazing there, I would have been able to kill inside the chain attack. Because I didn't, I fall just short because of that. I use Matthew here. This applies the area effect power charge. That's going to make me more powerful here. I'm very fortunate that I didn't go over 100. And once again, I apply the critical hit rate up and critical damage up again, so that doesn't expire. And then I use Rex for one last big attack in the chain attack itself, and then we finish with the Unity combo here, which does a pretty sizable amount of damage. It almost kills. It just barely doesn't, unfortunately, because of a couple missed thresholds here with my TP. I'm sure I could optimize my TP setup further, and if I had a certain 7th member in my party, I might be able to get a little bit more TP there if I had the Melia heroic chain on them, for instance. But fortunately, it doesn't end up mattering too much. It's basically essentially dead at this point, so I'm just going to swap to Rex and just use a couple arts to finish it off here. Not too much of an issue, thankfully. I even get a Saturni rings from that, so I can increase Rex's strength further, which would have also made a difference there in that chain attack. So all in all, Glimmer's a really effective party support, very good at keeping everyone healed, very good at applying some of the strongest buffs in the entire game. Very big fan of her. I think she's really strong. A very powerful combination with Rex as well. And you can see I just boosted Rex's attack power to 1900 from like 1700. So yeah, that could have made a pretty noticeable difference in that chain attack as well. I think that's going to cover it for this guide, though. I hope you guys learned something from watching, and if you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Please look forward to more future guides on Future Redeemed. Please look forward to my thoughts video about Future Redeemed soon as well. And I think that's going to cover it. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all the support you offer me, and have a wonderful and blessed day, and hopefully I'll see you back here soon.